Good evening, everybody. My name is Peter Steeves, and it's my privilege to be the director of the DePaul Humanities Center. And I'm very pleased to welcome you to our third annual installment of the Horror of the Humanities. We begin this evening with something special, and something that might take the edge off all that is horrific and yet to come. There's something joyful about being frightened, a reason why we take such delight in this time of year. And it seemed to me there could be no better segue from the post-meta-ironic satire that is our avant-garde haunted house outside, to a rather chilling, yet at times still humorous main event with Mr. Cronenberg later this evening, than to present you with some true artists with a serious gift for being unserious. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to introduce some of Chicago's finest comedic improv talent: Pete Parsons, Tim Dunn, Lisa Burton, Megan Redfearn, J. Grant Collins, and Alaina Hoffman, or as they're not really better known, the Yes and Ghouls Who Are Friends. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You guys are far too kind. As Peter said, we are the Yes and Ghoul players who are friends. And we actually went to this small town that had just suffered a horrific murder. We actually got to meet some of the people there, and they were actually you helped them who need help as well. So, you guys would mind introducing yourselves. I believe our first pair was with Alaina.
Right, and we were actually hoping for a suggestion from you of a relationship between two people. Sisters. Thank you.
So much. We met another couple too. They have a very fond relationship too. If you guys could provide them with one as well.
Yes, can we get a relationship between two people, like husband, wife, or?
Former lovers.
Former lovers, awesome, thank you.
A lot of people are former lovers after a murder, yes. We were our final couple too. We met here, and I have a striking resemblance to one of them too. So if you wouldn't mind introducing me.
Yes, final couple is these two guys right here. Could I have a suggestion of a relationship?
Stalker and victim.
I heard master and
Victim.
slave first.
What was the victim one too?
Stalker and his victim.
Stalker and his victim. Those are mutually comparable things, right? All right, excellent. So we need now just a real wacky object too, because it's a really mysterious way that this murder happened too. When I say a wacky object, what's something that you guys think of? Like a banana. A banana is very wacky. And finally, what's a small town that you guys have always wanted to go to but never had the chance to go to?
Paris, Kentucky.
Paris.
That's real?
Yeah.
Paris,
It's very real.
Great.
We now take you to the small town of Paris, Kentucky, after the murder banana.
Well, I'd only been working the force, 6 months or so when we got this call. It was distressing to say the least.
Yep, terrified me. And people on the force told us you two shouldn't be dating as cops because you're partners and that's going to be bad. But we don't follow the rules.
Yeah, we're rule breakers. Just like we were at that crime scene.
Yeah, and you know what? At the start of the case, we were in a good place in our relationship. By the end, broken up.
Yeah. I mean, some people talking about falling in love in a coffee shop or falling in love over roses, or you see those meet cutes in little movies and whatever. We fell in love over a dead body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then somebody got jealous. I'm not going to say who, but one of the two of us got real jealous.
Yeah?
Yeah.
One of us got jealous.
Yeah, one of us got jealous.
That's right. One of us did get jealous because the other one of us couldn't stop staring at all the ladies that walked by the coffee shop windows, or walked by the squad car windows, or walked by the windows of the victim's house.
That one was creepy, I'll give you that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, why wouldn't I get jealous?
Come back.
Gene and I sold the most candy bars, and we were told that we would win a trip to Paris. But what they didn't tell us was that it was actually Paris, Kentucky.
Yeah, so after being shocked and getting a passport, what a waste.
Yeah.
We ended up in Paris, Kentucky.
Which was beautiful, by the way, but no place for two young birthday clown enthusiasts.
I don't know if you guys know, but the whole birthday clown enthusiast thing started in Paris, France, with the mimes.
Yes. wonderful people would come for miles to go to a birthday party and be quiet, and we just loved that. Gene and I started our own birthday clown enthusiast club at our old high school, which is actually called Berlin, Illinois, and we just couldn't help it, but we had to go to Paris just to be with one of the clowns, too.
Yeah, it's something about the delicate balance of joy and silence.
Yes. Oh, yes, to have so much joy pulsing through your bodies that you can't do anything else but be very quiet and pretend you're trapped in a box.
We're what you might call francophiles.
You might.
My sister and I, we've been cultivating an air of, I don't know what you can say, sophistication around
I'm
town.
really trying to bring the culture of Paris to Paris.
Jeannie screened a film in her yard the other night, a French film.
Ratatouille.
Wasn't it? When that man was speaking French, I thought to myself, if this is what France is like, I never want to leave.
Ever. I mean, we're really doing a lot for this town. And frankly, it wasn't paying off. This town was boring until it happened.
It was, Gene and I thought we were a little bit out of place, because every time we went to the grocery store, people just kind of stared at us. But I don't think they understood that we were actually buying props.
Yeah, they look down when you buy like that much icing.
Yeah, because it's like we just bought like cans and cans of icing with no cake batter or anything at all. Just
No.
icing and cupcake cups, like empty paper cups, which is for the bid.
I've taken Kyle back now like 3 times now. And like, I'm not going to take him back again. In fact, I'm not speaking to him right now.
I just feel like if we share a computer and my Facebook is up, you cannot go through my messages. I feel like that's a rule that everyone should follow.
Well, I just feel like I'm not speaking to you right now.
Come on, don't do this.
Maggie has taken many artistic black and white photos of the entire town surrounding the crime.
Recently, I've been working on some still lives, bringing in fruit, vegetables, to really represent what we're going through in the town. I think it really speaks to one of my favorite artists, Jean-Claude Van Damme, who was, everyone knows, really from his still life work.
And it's quite moving. Yeah. I wept numerous times at the show.
You were still thinking about that little ratatouille ramp, too.
I'm very emotional about French things. So, yeah. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, we tried to go back to the grocery store afterwards too, but someone died in there, which was just a little unexpected. And, you know, of course, being from the outside, and we had clown makeup on and clown wigs and clown shoes on, we looked like the crazy ones.
Hey there, excuse me guys, we got a murderer in here. Excuse me, is he trapped in a box over there?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh my gosh, you guys are mimes. I'm a huge fan of mimes.
Yeah. We're Gene and I'm Dean. We come from Berlin, Illinois. We're here for the clown convention.
You're from Berlin, Illinois?
Yeah.
Oh, sister cities. I'm from London, Minnesota.
Ah, wonderful.
Oh.
Listen, we just need to go get a couple cans of cupcake frosting. We're just wondering if we could just hop right into the grocery store here.
You know what? Well, first off, this is my girlfriend / partner.
Now, I wouldn't go as far as to say girlfriend. I might say partner.
We don't do this at work. I feel like this is a personal time.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, your girlfriend partner thing? Well, I think we got some flowers in here. Why don't
That's like a
Scar, it's a scar. There's
Scar,
flowers,
yeah.
flowers at the end of it. Hold on.
Okay, how long is this gonna take? Yeah, wow. It is impressive.
So where are you from?
Oh, me? Look at that. There's one there.
Still attached, don't trip over.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I'm from just south of Paris. Kentucky.
you saying you've been here before earlier today?
Yeah, we were
Checked in?
We checked in a little bit, just had to go peruse the local produce aisle. You know?
Well, gentlemen, I don't mean to frighten you, but there's been a murder here in the grocery store.
A murder in the grocery store?
That's correct. A woman was murdered with a banana.
That's a great bit.
Yeah, it's great.
We did that at a 10-year-old's birthday party just last week. How was it?
Wait a minute, you did what?
We didn't murder anybody, but he killed.
You killed someone?
No, the bit killed. The bit killed. It's funny. I walked in and slipped on a banana.
You're saying you have experience with this sort of murder weapon before?
I've been eating bananas my whole life.
Yeah, I sliced one up and put it in my Cheerios just this morning.
All right, gentlemen, you better get your hands
Whoa!
up.
We pull our guns for like nothing.
Better get your hands up.
And don't cell phone camera this, please.
Where's the due process? Oh,
The
man.
due process is get your hands up. You just admitted
Quick!
it.
Gene, get into the car.
It's right here.
It's fine.
They're getting in the clown car. They're so tiny.
Come on.
One bone to pick with this town. It's that they just don't appreciate us, you know?
They don't. And really, they didn't appreciate Jacqueline
No.
either before she was dead.
No, Jacqueline, the most beautiful, she was actually really French.
She was the only one we had.
The only one. The only one. She goes in, she says, sisters, I'm gonna go get some brie. I'll see you at the lodge.
But it was more like, I'm going to go get some weed.
Yeah.
It was
So beautiful.
beautiful.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, it's better
And
than
then-
ever had.
We were sitting in the lodge just waiting, and waiting, and you know what? She never came, and that's when we realized this town just,
They must have killed her.
yeah, you know, it must have been too different and too challenging and too weird for them.
Like, I mean, the classic tale.
It's like Ratatouille. You know, the little rat. Jacqueline was like the little rat who just wants to be a cook and grow and get respected for his talents.
You're gonna make me cry.
Yeah, and I don't know how the heck he uses a knife, because he uses a little tiny knife, and then really, you know, is an artist inside.
And yeah, and Jacqueline was an artist.
No, she was.
She painted our town happy for a little while.
Kyle, let me back into my house.
Hey, I'm letting you back in, okay?
Kyle,
What?
let me back into my house.
Hell, I'm mad at you.
Kyle, I realize you're mad at me.
Yeah.
But I love you. Take me back.
That's a good argument right there.
Thank you. Besides, I brought you flowers.
Wait, were those the same flowers with the... Yeah, I knew it. That's re-gifting is what you're doing right there.
Oh, come on. But they were a gift to me first, and so now I'm giving them to you. So really, it's just my gift to you, and what's a gift but a re-gift always.
That's some good logic right there.
See?
All right, fine. We're gonna have to work together to track down them mime criminals, anyways.
Okay, is that your way of saying that we have to work together on this relationship?
I guess I am. It's just, look, I haven't been wanting to tell you this for a while, but part of me just wants to quit being a police officer and get my band back together and tour the country.
What?
Yeah.
Get your band back together?
Yes, absolutely.
But you guys were the worst band in 3
Excuse
countries.
me?
What?
Excuse me?
It's widely known.
No, come on. We're an AC/DC cover band here in Paris, Kentucky.
Yeah,
And
and you had a fiddle, a cello, and an electric bass. And that's 2 basses.
I failed to see what the problem is here.
That's AC/DC.
My mom says I can't stay at the art center too long. I gotta get home to babysit my brother.
Oh, come on, man. A little more band practice.
I only know Beethoven's concertos 1 through 4.
Man, I sent you those links to AC/DC songs. I know you're like 19, but they're like good songs, okay?
My parents put a lock on my computer. I can't go to certain websites.
Man, I'm sorry. That sucks. My girlfriend does that too. That's a personal
Don't you understand? You need to stay a cop. Let me finish out this project. Or this dead body.
Fine.
case.
This one last case.
Yeah.
All right. Get back here inside.
Oh no, Gene, our car broke down. You're gonna have to whip up some parts out of thin air to fix this one. Oh, it's so spooky out here.
I guess that's why they call it do not enter forest.
Yeah. I've heard legends about the do not enter forest. They say it's haunted by sisters.
That's right. What? Oh, look at you two, merry gentlemen entering my forest. But that can't be your real hair.
Oh no, it's a clown wig.
Oh, all right, okay. Well, beware.
Okay.
There's lots of things in these woods.
I think I'm looking at one of them.
Oh!
It's only fair to ask, is that your real nose?
Yes, that's my real nose.
I'm sorry, it's so big.
Oh, okay. Well, my mother was just
Don't
a
say
real
it, don't
nosy
say it.
lady.
There we go.
No, she couldn't stick her nose out of the, a busybody.
My mom was also half busybody. Listen, lady, our car broke down. Yeah, we don't suppose you have anything in your satchel that could fix it. Your satchel full of twigs and berries.
Whoa, well, don't you just come in here waddling around in my forest with your fancy city hair, looking for tools out of my hobo bag. I don't know if I can handle that. And there's monkeys in these woods. Yes! Monkeys!
Don't you throw that.
I'm sorry for us city folk coming into the country and everything. We just have a big dream, all right? Our dream to just bring joy to children at birthday parties, okay? And I do take offense to the way you said that we just waddle in here, okay?
It's the shoes.
I see them. Very nice.
My brother and I also have a glandular problem that we can't help. So if we waddle, it's because our bodies want us to.
It's a combination of the two.
Oh. Well, I can understand your body just doing things you don't want it to.
Yeah, I'm 19, so I know all about it.
Tell me about it. Been there. It was a while back, but I'll never forget it. Now.
Hey, old hobo lady?
Yeah.
Or I guess I should say 19-year-old
Yeah,
hobo lady.
it's
Okay,
all
that's my bad.
right. It's okay. I haven't aged well.
Listen, do you want to go to the homecoming dance with me?
What? Pretty pictures? Asking me, the coolest guy quarterback of the football team? Oh, man, with your newfangled haircut, I can go anywhere.
What are you doing? We got ACDC
No, I can't do it right now. What? No, man, I'm in love with this old hobo lady.
Just another Yoko.
May I present your proud king and queen down and younger old hobo lady.
Oh!
Speech!
All right, boys and girls, I want you to know one thing, if I can leave you with this. There are monkeys in the woods. Monkeys! Monkeys that can be your friend or monkeys who can turn against you. I'm just saying, live your life right, the monkeys will leave you alone.
Crazy, we voted you valedictorian too.
Alright, I don't usually like to repeat
There was
speech.
just something, we got framed for the murders, Gene and I, but there was this crazy old bag lady, hobo lady, living in the do not enter forest, which no one believed us either because we couldn't get our clown makeup off because the towel there in the town was shit.
It's got sulfur in it. It's like, why even bother?
Yeah. So we kept on trying to tell them it wasn't us. We didn't murder that French woman in the grocery store with a banana. But like they would not take it. They would not.
Kept calling us outsiders.
Yeah, outsiders saying you don't belong here. Your hair is crazy. Stop buzzing my hand when I shake it. I don't want to smell water. I don't want my face wet.
That gum, is it real gum or is it gonna like make my mouth red?
Yeah, and is this cake or is it just gonna explode? Or
just a lot of stereotypes about clowns.
yeah. Are you gonna wear clothes or are they just gonna fall off and say take a picture of me?
All right, hold it there. Clear. Okay, great. Yeah, that's how she would have died.
Yeah, that's what she would have looked like.
Yeah. Now let me do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Okay, there you go.
Disposable camera that we use now.
Yeah.
Alright.
We gotta update that thing here for the
Yeah,
police.
hold it for too long though, would you?
All right.
Here we go. And click.
Yeah, officers, when can I open up my Piggly Wiggly again? I got a line around the corner, people needing their produce and their milks.
Sure, this being the only grocery store in Paris, Kentucky.
Well, I understand there was a horrific murder this morning, which I have an alibi for.
You said that real conspicuous.
That's what they say on the TV. I got an alibi for that.
You are a huge Law and Order fan.
I love it.
And he's the owner of the Piggly Wiggly, so I mean, he can't be the culprit.
I don't know, let's hear this alibi though.
Alright.
Well, this morning,
Okay.
What was that hesitation?
it's a long story, I take a breath, like
How old are you?
45.
Alright. Go ahead.
Hey, lacking Law and Order, do you want to be doing some task or something?
How about like a Law and Order, we just do a flashback?
Sounds great.
Oh, yeah, I just take a cup of black coffee.
Alright, no problem. I noticed that the store is closed right now.
Well, it's still in the morning, so I hadn't opened the doors yet.
Alright, Jim, I just want to make sure that everything's cool.
Well, this black coffee goes right through me.
Yeah.
I'll be in the
Okay,
bathroom.
alright, okay.
Why,
I was in the bathroom for a long time. this
why did
morning.
you say that to that woman? That's gross.
Which part?
The bathroom part.
And that bathroom's been out of service for 40 years. Yeah, that bathroom's been out of service for 40 years.
I just used it.
Oh, no,
So he used it this morning, then you just used it. Why don't you fix that bathroom? It's been 40 years.
We always mean to, and then we never get them. We want people to come in, buy the coffee, and not stay too long. You're using the toilet too much, you're staying too long.
I feel like you've gotten off track in this case.
I think so too, but do you mean to tell me that you think that the owner of the Piggly Wiggly killed that French lady?
Just saying that alibi does not check out.
All right, thank you. Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
We were told that that bathroom has been out of order for 40 years.
What's it take to make a bathroom a bathroom? A hole?
That's a solid point right there. You use that bathroom.
I'm just saying, running water is part of a new civilization. Holes are holes.
Holes are holes.
That's right,
When
Mom.
you live in the forest, anything could be a bathroom.
Monkeys don't need bathrooms and they're happy.
No, the air is their bathroom. Look up, you'll see their bathroom.
Know that, monkey.
All right. Well, I just want you to know I'm very proud of you. Even though you decided to go the corporate route.
Well, Papa left me that Piggly Wiggly in his will.
Well, you don't have a sniffer like me, so you can't make your way around the forest just as good as your old, not that old, mom.
Don't worry, Mama. I'll leave you cold cuts out by the sign that says "Do not enter."
Okay, I'll send the wolf for those.
Ah, Ratatouille again. What do you mean?
We should go to the Piggly Wiggly. We.
Oh, okay. I just thought you were saying
Some
we.
point.
Oh, yes, we should. No. Want to watch Ratatouille in my one-bedroom apartment?
You have been reading my diary.
What?
You've been reading my diary.
Oh, is for eating French for reading? Yes. I have a rat in my apartment that can make a mean lasagna.
Is that a euphemism?
No, it's just how I like to describe Stoker's food.
Okay.
Think about it. Just you, me, the Paris skyline of the biggest building in town. Underneath that light of the Piggly Wiggly. All of a sudden, your hand touches mine. A rat scurries across the parking lot.
Slap that rat.
doesn't wake up tomorrow morning because we're dead.
Or maybe one of us wakes up and they're
I'm
sorry.
Terrified.
Well, I do think that we're solving this case. You know, I'm pretty sure that it is the owner of the Piggly Wiggly.
I think so too.
I think it's open and shut.
Yeah, so we got a plan that we're gonna spring on him. And we're gonna crack this thing wide open.
I think so too.
I saw the lady die.
What? Okay, who killed her?
Ring around.
No, don't go, wait, where are you going?
How old was that?
She looked like she was like an 8-year-old girl.
But she sounded like a 63-year-old woman.
Yeah.
Weird.
So weird. And you'd think if she was gonna come all the way over here, she would have helped us. Gone that extra mile, told us who it
Just
was.
said like, yes, you're on the right track.
All right, let's go arrest this Piggly Wiggly guy.
Oh, boy.
Excuse me, sir.
Stalking my ship. Yep.
You're under arrest.
You're under arrest. We know it's you that killed that woman.
My sweetheart is going to put some handcuffs on you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
I'm waiving my right to stay silent.
Oh,
I'm just putting it back on the shelf.
Oh, yeah. Looked like you were like pulling a lever that would drive us through the floor.
I wish.
Yeah. All right.
But,
Go.
oh, you don't see this clown, it's just my PTSD.
Oh,
Oh,
there.
yeah.
He's just hungry. He's just hungry.
Alright, so everyone else agrees this clown's actually here.
what's it like? Does he have a cane?
Oh, is that a banana? Oh, my goodness. Oh, just like one of the murder weapons earlier.
Oh,
Oh.
he's going to eat it. Yeah,
Look at that, like a smile on his face.
Yeah, that's good.
All in
Yep.
one bag.
It wasn't a banana, it was a gun! I'm so sorry, sir, it wasn't you this whole time!
Oh, no, get my handcuffs off.
Does anyone else see that monkey?
Sir, I'm so sorry. Do you have any last words or anyone we should notify?
My mom lives and do not enter woods.
Oh, she's the old hobo?
God, she's not that old.
Look, Kyle, I have seen a lot of David Lynch movies.
Okay.
And if I know one thing, I know that we are going to find all of our answers in the parking lot of some kind of air hangar or something.
Okay, yeah, sounds
The
great.
airplanes.
All right, I got the only tickets left for the hottest AC/DC cover band in town.
Yeah.
Can't believe there's not more people here.
This is ridiculous. I brought glow sticks.
Finally, a concert.
I know.
Culture.
I know, right? I'd kill to hear a bassoon right about now playing Thunderstruck.
Just give me oboe all day long.
Oh, Bo, yeah. Oh.
Right. Viola.
Did you ever get tired of playing with little townsfolk sometimes?
They're adorable.
I've enjoyed watching them try and solve this little crime that's been placed in front of them. You know, they just can't seem to solve it.
I know who can solve it. Hercule Poirot, the greatest French detective I've ever read about.
Hercule Poirot, of course. How could I not know Hercule Poirot?
My personal hero.
And now, Hercule Poirot, is he like the Sherlock Holmes of French
Yes,
people?
exactly.
I mean, my apologies. I'm
Sherlock
from
Holmes is the
Paraguay,
Hercule
California.
Poirot.
Oh, yes. Oh.
Do you think they'll enjoy our next clue?
Oh.
Actually, we already figured it out.
What?
Yeah, first off, thanks for coming to my band show. I appreciate the support.
I'm a big fan, always have been.
Thank you.
Don't
Thank
encourage
you.
him. Sweetheart, it's one thing.
Point is, you're going to jail.
Sacre bleu!
And that helped. Not only am I a clown enthusiast, I'm an ex-Boy Scout. I recognize a lot of my grease paint had been missing. Someone borrowed it.
Thanks, bro.
Well, I have one request. Before we haul y'all off to jail, Could we see your clown show in full?
Oh, please.
Oh, but his brother isn't even here, though. Maybe you could go get him.
Oh, I'll get my brother. He's in the car.
Yeah, and I also gotta go get my jail clothes on, right?
All right, makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, wait.
If y'all want to get your jail clothes on.
Oh, sure.
All right, great.
Jail clothes.
Yeah.
Sweetheart, are we gonna get
This
dinner?
is our big break.
This will get us to the real Paris.
All right, clown show.
Pull a rope out of his stomach?
I think so.
Okay. Oh! Is that Ghost Girl again?
She's not part of the act!
I see London, I see France, I see. Can't shoot me. That's what I see.
Your bullets went through her and struck me!
Oh, Sarah's there!
No, that's a no.
Honey, before Ghost Girl kills me, I love you.
No, please! Ghost Girl! Don't kill him!
Ghost girl, get back in the forest. That's right.
I live in the forest, and I'm finally free.
Oh, good.
I don't have to make those monkey sounds anymore.
Oh, too young for this.
But Ghost Girl, you may have killed my future maybe husband. The will they won't they relationship.
Maybe?
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe. You never asked me.
I was getting to it.
Oh yeah?
I feel like living together is basically the same thing.
Well now, are you ever gonna get to it? No, you're not really ever gonna.
We could play wedding. I'll officiate.
Well, you can't now.
You just stabbed me.
I can do it! I wanted you! Well, wait a minute. Are you the ghost girl daughter of that priest who needed to marry one last couple before he went to heaven? And then if you, as a ghost, if you officiate a wedding,
Then all of my unfinished business will be finished.
Documentary note, at this point, we wanted to, just elaborate. If you really let the townspeople elaborate on the story.
Yeah, everything's digital now, so we have so much room for them to just go on and on.
Yeah. We sort of tacked on the priest thing at the end, just to sort of wrap everything up in a nice bun.
yeah, just wanted to make sure that like a lot of different styles of genre of horror are getting incorporated. And ghosts, like when ghosts come up, they need a reason to leave, and like you need a solution.
And we could not get the rights to any AC/DC song, so we apologize about that.
Yes. So,
And you think if you played it in an instrumental way, it would have been okay.
No, Angus Black is like kind of a huge jerk, so he's not really done with. But we just thought it was perfectly figured to end it with a wedding, a final wedding, because who doesn't love a nice ghost wedding at the end of a murder scene? We can actually play that for you now too.
Dearly beloved,
Okay.
we're gathered today to witness the nuptials of cops.
It's so cool that we died and we're back as ghosts. Sorry for that.
Guys, thanks for agreeing to be my co-best men. There's not a lot of people in Paris, Kentucky.
No, check your tie. It's gonna fall off, and then you'll be naked, and people will ask to take your picture.
Repeat after me.
Okay?
I, a cop,
I, a cop,
take you, a cop.
take you, a cop.
do I say that part too?
You're next.
Oh, great.
Okay?
Sorry, I've never done this before.
Just follow me.
Okay.
Okay.
I pretended a lot. I take you, a cop, to be my lawfully wedded cop,
I take you, a cop, to be my lawfully wedded cop.
and I'll make you breakfast every day.
I'll make you breakfast every day. We're both going to say that?
Say it out
I'll
loud.
make you breakfast every day,
And I'll tell you that I like your hair.
and I'll tell you that I like your hair,
And we can high five every night
and we can high five every night. A lot of conditions to this marriage.
because because that's what a good hubby do.
I'm sorry to interrupt this ceremony, but has anyone seen my daughter Jacqueline? She went to the grocery store and just disappeared.
Ah, we didn't tell the father.
You know, if you could just hold on 2 shakes until I'm done with this, because then my biz will be done.
Oh, that's usually very rude, but I'll let it pass.
Oh, well, the French guy's telling me what's right.
That is no French guy, that is Hercule Poirot.
That's the
Yes.
Poirot?
That's the Hugh.
Yes. Did you know that the Herculean that I am the Herculean Poirot? I solved my own daughter's murder. She is dead. I know that much. But I also object to this marriage because you two clearly have communication problems and you can't really settle if you want to settle for each other. So I suggest you maybe go on a vacation, maybe do a nice bed and breakfast. As far away from here as possible, I suggest Monterey, Washington.
Okay.
Yes, sorry to interrupt the wedding, but I believe my work here is done.
I still have to marry people.
Yes, I'm so sorry, please do.
Otherwise she'll keep killing.
Yeah, okay, we want to talk.
Yes!
Oh, it's a banana.
Who do you want to marry, French guy?
If it means, look at that PA. If it means no more, any more death, I will marry you, Miss Myrtle.
I'm 8 years old, creepo.
Well, but you've been alive. You've been around for like
I'm a there.
No, you gotta do it, man. You gotta say it.
You said it.
Okay, she's better off. She's too young. All right.
Take this banana.
Oh, wouldn't be the first time someone did that.
And say, Miss Lady,
Miss Lady,
will you take my banana?
I'll pass on that one.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
Great. So you're married now. Now let's see if you can be. You say, some French dude.
Some French dude.
Let's totes get married.
Let's toast get married.
I love it.
I love it.
I love it.
I love it.
High five.
High five.
And then you high five.
Oh, beautiful.
She bananaed you. But I married people.
And that was the movie. That was our little experience in Harris, Kentucky. So we're lucky that we made it out alive, but we're lucky that we got those interviews after everyone was killed, too. Thank you.
That was Pete Parsons, Tim Dunn, Lisa Burton, Megan Redfearn, J. Grant Collins, and Alaina Hoffman. Thanks so much for that half hour. And I wanted to take just a moment to give a special thanks to Pete Parsons. Pete not only performed with and organized this group of gifted improv artists tonight, but he has a long tradition of working tirelessly to make DePaul a better place. He's a graduate of this university, and Pete was my student nearly a decade ago. And in those intervening years, he's returned time and again whenever I've called on him, and always incredibly generous and incredibly talented as well. And Pete's leaving Chicago next month, headed west to Austin, the only city in Texas where I imagine he wouldn't be immediately arrested. And Pete has been such a friend of the Humanities Center and a friend to me. I just wanted to thank him publicly tonight for everything he's offered us over the years and to wish him well in everything to come. So please join me in thanking Pete Parsons. Feel free to come on out, guys, and grab a seat. It's my honor now to present our feature presentation, Brandon Cronenberg's Antiviral. An official selection at Fantastic Fest and the Cannes Film Festival, Brandon's debut film also won the award for Best Canadian First Feature Film at the Toronto International Film Festival. And as you're about to see, it's no wonder that this work has garnered such prizes and has been the focus of so much attention and praise. Following the screening, we're lucky to have Brandon here, and he'll sit down with me a bit to talk about his work, and then we'll take some questions from the audience as well. Before that, though, you're in for a real treat, as well as a bit of a trick, I guess. A horror film that pushes the boundaries of genre such that we should more precisely say it's just a fantastic film that also happens to be horrific. Antiviral is the sort of art that takes its medium and its message seriously. I think of Brandon as something like a painter, adding characters and ideas to a blank canvas with his actors moving through clearly nearly all white sets in strokes both subtle and bold. This work of art is a movie. It takes seriously that it's a visual art, one that unfolds in time and is interpreted by actors with bodies, or better yet, actors who are bodies, as we all are. Jacques Derrida reminds us that what holds the body together is also precisely the force that threatens to rip it apart. In describing the logic of the autoimmune, Derrida finds meaning in the fact that the very gesture meant to sustain something is actually ultimately the danger to that thing. And so the body is threatened by its own logic internally. The autoimmune disease strives to protect the body by tearing it apart. The same is true of democracy. We all could at any moment democratically decide to do away with democracy. The same is true of all texts. That Brandon's text is itself on the topic of autoimmune logic is, like the lymphocyte that works against its fleshy homeland, the force that both drives this film and also threatens to undermine its narrative. It is, as well, the film's diagnosis of our culture, an obsession with what is other that constitutes the self. Yet this shady boundary marking any assumed demarcation between self and other is exactly the point at which identity is formed and begins to crumble. This is an incredibly thoughtful movie, and perhaps any movie that's truly thoughtful must also be at least a little horrific. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to present to you Brandon Cronenberg's Antiviral. Ladies and gentlemen, Brandon Cronenberg. How about now? Hey, there we go. Sorry about that. No problem. All right. Well, thanks so much for being here again. We really appreciate your coming, and that was just, it was so moving and so brilliant. We're going to have some time to have some questions from the audience, so you might be thinking a little bit about that in a little while. But I thought before that, maybe we could have a little talk. And there are just so many places to begin, but I thought maybe we might start with the notion of celebrity, because I've heard you talk a little bit about that before. And so I thought that would be a good place to begin, and maybe we could explore that a little bit more. Sure. I believe once you said that the idea for the movie came to you when you were thinking about how we treat people like Paris Hilton and folks like that.
Yeah, well, I was, so is this?
I think you're good.
I'm good?
I think so.
Yes.
Sounds okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, originally, the idea came when I was sick. I was in first year of film school, and I had this really horrible flu, and I had this kind of delirious fever dream. I was half conscious, half dreaming and rolling around and sweating in bed. And I started obsessing over the physicality of my illness and the fact that I had this thing that was physically in my body and in my cells that had come from someone else's body, and how there was something weirdly intimate about that. The virus is actually grown in another person's infected cells, and then it's transmitted to you, and it penetrates your cells, and it's totally erotic. So I was trying to think of a character who might see illness as something desirable, who might be able to kind of make that jump. And so I started thinking about a celebrity-obsessed fan who might want Angelina Jolie's Cold, it was 10 years ago.
Obviously.
As a way of feeling, sort of connected to her, but as a way of kind of physically taking in a piece of her.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, the initial idea kind of grew out of that, actually. It was thoughts about disease and the intimacy of disease.
Right. And so then the idea of celebrity just being one means of thinking that through, of why someone would want to have that kind of infection or relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And then once I got thinking about celebrity and how interesting it was, the fact that you could imagine someone reasonably getting there. You know, there's an interview with Sarah Michelle Gellar, I think, during editing that my friend sent me, and she said, you know, I'm sorry, I don't want to sing for you all. I have this cold. I'll infect everybody here if I sing for you. And everyone started applauding like mad. They were like, yes, infect us, please. And I was like,
Buffy flu.
yeah, I gotta get this movie out before it just becomes a documentary. You know, like it's not. It seems sort of. It is satire, and it's not really meant to be predictive. It's meant to be satirical, but it's not that far from reality when you think about how far people will go to feel these things. And so, yeah, and it became
Makes perfect sense.
bunch of thoughts about celebrity culture.
Because so that word even, culture, in some sense it seems like, right, the celebrity, it's not that the celebrities are the virus, but in some sense celebrityness itself is the virus because it takes place in a culture, it's enculturated, and regular people start off uninfected, but then eventually they get famous and become celebrities, and then it's only perpetuated by social means, by a bunch of people talking about it. So gossip, like the mouth, is the means through which it perpetuates itself. And so celebrity itself sort of becomes the virus in the culture.
Yeah, I definitely would have made a culture pun if we'd had this before. Yeah, and I mean, I think the thing though is, I don't think it's just that culture perpetuates celebrity. I think it's entirely a cultural entity. Like the celebrity isn't really a human being. You know, if you have this disconnect between the physical human and the celebrity is just a cultural construct, really. It's a media construct. It's only loosely connected to the person, and you know, the celebrity continues to live. The human being dies. You know, the celebrity goes on to perform as a hologram or be in vacuum cleaner commercials or whatever. You know, it's like
Tupac.
Yeah, Tupac. It's an entity that we sort of create, that we share, and that is the celebrity. Because none of us, I'm assuming, have met Angelina Jolie, and so we don't really know anything about the reality of that person, but we all have sort of internalized this cultural entity. It's almost like a deity or something that we all participate in. It's like a kind of mythology. So I think I think celebrity is actually fabricated by culture. I don't think it.
So the mass hallucination line in the movie, that celebrity is just a group hallucination.
Mm-hmm.
That was sort of your take on.
My take on it. Yeah, I think that's. Yeah.
So what would you say about this? As you were saying that, I was thinking about. So sometimes I teach in the philosophy department here, and I'll teach Jean Baudrillard or Lyotard, these sort of postmodern French sort of authors. And one of the things that comes up in deconstruction, late phenomenology, and certainly French philosophy is thinking about the way in which identity is fractured, so it's always performative. So my guess is that, I don't remember who it was either Baudrillard or Lyotard, I think, in the 90s, during the Clinton administration, wrote an essay about who is the real Bill Clinton. And the claim was that to say that there is some Clinton apart from Clinton's media appearances is to assume that there is some person who is unmediated. That is, that you could ever have access to somebody without something mediating that. And so the claim was that there's always this mediation taking place, which means that there's always a kind of performance of identity taking place. And it's just that there are different performances in different contexts. So it's sort of like, you and I we're not acting the way we always act, because we're here on stage and there are people that we can't see.
They brought this from my apartment.
Yeah, that's our great minds chair, by the way. That's why you're there. So this is a performance, but it's not to say that this is fake. It's not like this is not who you are and who I am. It's just that in this context, this is what the context calls for. And so when you go back to Toronto and you're with family, with your girlfriend, with whatever, you'll give a different performance. But it's really just sort of a series of masks, but masks that don't mask something more real. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Because I think we perform for ourselves also. We have this sense of self that's totally inaccurate. And so, you talk about people who are obviously not self-aware. Someone who thinks, I don't know, there's, saw this guy on a plane once, and he was trying to be very young still, obviously, but he had to be in his late 50s or his 60s, and he was really badly dyeing his hair, and it was this awkward comb over and this sort of like terrible leather jacket, and you could tell he wasn't accepting that he was aging and that he was sort of hiding his physical deterioration from himself. And you see people like that, and you think, okay, to a certain extent, I know you more than you know yourself, because you're performing this version of yourself and you're not self-aware enough to see that. And I think that's true of everybody. You can't know yourself really because you can't see yourself from the inside, and it's from the outside that the world knows you, and from the outside that people have this sometimes very insightful perspective. Sometimes someone will know what you're going to do, and you don't even know what you're going to do just because they know you better than you know yourself. On the other hand, they don't have access to your thoughts and your interior life, and so they don't really know you either. And so there isn't, I guess I'm agreeing, there isn't a real you, even to yourself. There's always something missing. There's only a partial perspective.
Because even when you're looking in the mirror, there's still a performance of, I see that, and I'm looking in the mirror, and you play a role to yourself even.
Sure, and there's a you look at, in extreme cases, people obviously with, say eating disorders who are anorexic but think they're still fat because they're just distorting their image of themselves. But I think we all do that I think that's an extreme version of something that we all do. Because you see yourself in a photo or something, you see yourself on video, and so it just, for a second you're seeing yourself naturally like other people do, and you go, oh my God, who is it?
Right.
Do I really look like that? Do I really talk like that? Do I really move like that? Like, surely not. That's not me. But that is you, and it's the version of yourself that you carry with you is a total delusion.
Yeah. There was we had out in the haunted house, one of the exhibits was about Pirandello, and the novel One, No One, and 100,000. And I don't know if anybody got to see it when you were out there, but there was the beginning of the novel in a mirror, and in that novel, the guy's looking in the mirror, and his wife says, "Are you looking there to see which way your nose tilts?" And he said, "My nose is crooked?" And she said, "Yeah, of course your nose is crooked." And then this is the entire plot of the novel, essentially. It just throws him into this tailspin because he suddenly realizes that everybody is seeing a different version of him than the version he has inside of him. And they're each seeing a different one. And so he feels this fractured identity, sort of like what we've been talking about, but it just drives him crazy. He decides he has to find some way to stop it.
Sounds like a great book.
Yeah, make a good movie too. And then that also seems to be one of the things that come out of making this a virus and not just a bacterial infection, or because, and this maybe is just me, but as I think about the role of the virus, and this playing such an important role in the movie, we are composed of viruses, of course. It's not just a bad thing to get a virus. There are probably quadrillions of viruses that are inside our bodies that constitute who we are. And in fact, I think the statistic is that if you take a random strand of DNA from your body, there's only a 10% chance it will have your DNA. Everything else is foreign, some bacteria, some virus, and they're doing all this work for us, keeping us afloat. And so viruses in particular do all sorts of stuff, and one of my favorite examples is that in the intestines, where you have all the bacteria that are helping you break down all the food that you eat, that bacteria wants to eat everything, so it wants to eat your intestines too. But our body creates an environment that's really hospitable for viruses that go hunting those bacteria in order to keep them down. So without that virus, we'd be dead. So in some sense, the virus shows us that the whole person is kind of a construct. And it's sort of like at the end of the movie when we're learning that the virus doesn't care at all about the person. It just wants to be in living tissue. That it seems to me that is kind of making a case in the movie that maybe the person always is something of a construct.
For sure, and even, I mean, most cells in the human body, if you remove them and put them in a nutrient-rich environment, they'll live as a life form on their own, you know, as similarly. So we are a community, for sure, of various life forms or viruses, as we were talking about before, not quite alive, but still.
Right, sort of like a colony
Yeah.
in some ways. And it seems that the decision you make to say where the individual is a kind of political, ethical commitment more than it is a metaphysical or ontological one. Like, we're not really one body or really one person. It's just that, well, you want to have one body or one person for certain things that you want to do with that. Like, for instance, to turn somebody into a celebrity. So maybe part of the problem with celebrity is not just that it's getting at a fake thing, but that it's taking one aspect of somebody and then capitalism gets a hold of it and then does horrible things with it.
Horrible things, or I mean, I think it's not just sort of a capitalist current. I feel like if you look at, you know, past versions of celebrities, you know, I would consider you know, saints to be you know, obsession with sainthood to be kind of like a celebrity obsession. You know, the idea that there are these people sort of given the status almost of deities, and that there's an obsession with the physicality of their body, you know, the relics, the idea that you could have a finger bone or something that is imbued with power from the saint, and the church will have it, you know. Or royalty, you know, past royalty in certain cultures, you know, consider their kings and queens to be literal deities. So I feel like it's not, I mean, there is a particular version of that that's linked to capitalism that's very much a part of our culture, but I think it's maybe exploiting a kind of human impulse that we have that's a very old impulse to do that kind of thing that isn't specific to our culture now. I mean, you know, we can say, yes, people sort of cynically exploited the Hollywood system. The star system is all about creating celebrities to sell them back to, right? That's what the Oscars are about. That's, I mean, that's
Right.
You know, very deliberately, that's what the star system is about. But then, at the same time, trying to turn loyalty into deities, that's the same thing. It's to sort of a kind of power, or you know, you see in countries where they're ruled by a dictator, people are forced sometimes to have a picture of the dictator in their houses, kind of like, you know, an icon. And it's the same thing. I mean, you're looking at this person, and the repetition of the imagery that you're exposed to suddenly does something to you, and they gain this almost godlike status, which can then be exploited in a system like that.
Like all the pictures of Hannah Geist, which were very propagandic. Right? The big portraits of her everywhere. And,
Yeah. The more you see somebody, the more you can't stop thinking about them, and the bigger they loom in your mind.
Right. I wonder if there's some sense in which, though, this sort of celebrity culture that we have has a particular slant to it because of modernity, because of our society. So what I'm thinking about is that if we say that humans, they kind of want to have that contact, you want to have somebody that you have in common with someone else to talk about, that in a smaller society, in a more communitarian society, it would be the case that we would know lots of people and have lots of people in common. So when you and I get together to talk about something, we would talk about this other person that we do know. But in our large, anonymous, alienating society, the truth is that we really don't have that much in common. So we have water cooler talk, and we talk about the people that we know in common, but the people that we know in common are just the ones that are in the media. So we talk about people on TV or people in the movies because really we don't have anything else to talk about because we don't have anything else to share because there's no shared life.
Maybe, but at the same time, I think even if you look at smaller communities, there's usually a mythology as well, you know, and shared stories and shared ideas and these sort of narratives that people engage in that they're not directly involved in, but somehow, you know, give meaning to their lives and create this sort of framework for culture and communication. And I think part of it's that too, right? I think celebrity is, these stories are a modern mythology, and for sure there's something that binds us together when we all know, you know, the latest scandal, how incredible we can all talk about it. It does give us something to talk about. It does, it is a bonding thing, but at the same time, I don't know if it's a symptom of alienation. I think that's another old impulse, you know, that's something that maybe it's about creating communities, maybe it is a social tool, but I think it connects to older versions of that.
Right. And you mentioned narrative there too, and that's another theme I think that I see in the movie where, so when Sid is selling the viruses to his clients, he doesn't just sell the virus, he sells the story. You know, Hannah would have kissed you here, so that's where I should have objected. And then we hear at the end that the public has a uncomfortable narrative gap between the death, between her life and death, and so there's this notion that the only way we're going to make sense of anything is through story. And that seems to be somewhat related to what you were just saying too, that we need this narrative, whether they're going to be gods, royalty, or celebrities, that we all sort of participate in this group narrative, and that gives some meaning to our existence, our identity.
For sure, and it's a narrative that doesn't necessarily exist. I mean, how much of it is constructed, and how much of it is, you know, the media. When I did a press tour for this, I was shocked sometimes that the things that I apparently had said that would just appear in articles. But
Because you didn't say them,
because
really?
I didn't
Or-
say them. There was one guy, the worst case of it, he sat down and he didn't have a recorder or anything. He's, you know, I said, are you going to record this? Usually people record these things. I said, no, I'd like to keep it organic. You know? It's up here. And then I thought, okay, cool. I like keeping it organic, I guess. Like, that's awesome. And then I read his article, and he directly quoted me, but he just made it all up because he didn't have any record of what I was actually saying. So there's all this, but that then becomes what I said. You know what I mean? That's the reality. You know, the narrative, the media narrative is your real life in a sense. That's what's going to outlive you. That's what the world knows about you. And you know, whatever actually happened is this ephemeral thing that you can't make a record of.
So have you been infected by celebrity then? Is this one of the things?
I mean, you know, not that much. But I mean, having a taste of it, it is a really weird trend. You know, I'm not a big celebrity or anything, but even just doing the press tour with this and stuff.
Yeah,
it is a pretty strange. It's a strange way of interacting with people as well, because it's not. You know, you're talking about performative. It's a totally strange or unnatural dynamic in a way.
Right.
But it can't, in that context, you can't get out of it. You sort of can't interact with people in a normal way in that context because nobody wants that.
That's right.
But I mean, I think interesting, you know, talking about narrative, I also think that that's relating that back to, you know, just personal identity. I think that's something that we do, again, with our own lives. We like to imagine this led to this and this led to this, and there's certain events that we kind of maintain memory of, and we, you know, make certain connections, and we build our personal narrative, which isn't really what happened either, you know, but that becomes our own history, our own, again, it's a version of ourselves that we make.
That makes perfect sense. And it seems like it's the same point about identity, because to say, well, when I look back on my life and I see this story, of course, when you meet the person you're going to love, for instance, you may not know, oh, this is the person I'm going to spend my life with. So you don't see it as this is the initial chapter in the love story. You only put that on the story when you look back. But at the same time, even though it's an imposition, an interpretation, it's not the case that there is some real story. There would just be another interpretation or another narrative that you could tell.
Yeah, because as soon as you're interpreting it, it's subjective.
Exactly, right.
No objective viewer can have that. But yeah.
So as a writer, you have the power of the narrative pen, so you can control the characters' lives and you can control the story that's unfolding. It's a kind of godlike power. Do you think of it that way ever? Do you think that you have some sort of responsibility to the particular characters that are in the story?
I guess. I mean, there's a weird thing I find that happens with writing, which is that you're writing a scene and you're writing it, but suddenly the character does something that you didn't expect them to do, or they say something that you didn't expect them to say, and it's not what you had planned, but it's just, you're going through it and something happens in your brain, and it's like the character has a kind of life of its own.
That must be a good feeling.
Yeah, that's a great feeling, because then they're alive, and then that, sometimes that leads to the best stuff, but it's weird. You don't, I mean, you technically, yes, you have control, yes, you have this godlike power, but I feel like it's a weird relationship with the story and the characters where they drive you also to do certain things.
Yeah, that makes sense. How does that compare to the role of the director? So now you've got your story out, but then you have to be sort of the master of all of these other things that are going on. And then there's a particular actor who's going to be interpreting that person and maybe taking it in a different way. Is it a completely different role for you when you're writing versus directing?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of, I didn't learn a lot in film school. Like film school, you don't go to film school to learn anything. You sort of go to meet people and make movies.
So it's networking.
Yeah. But there was one professor who said, who gave me good advice, and he said at every stage when you're making a movie, you have to forget everything that you just did and work with what you have. So you write the script and you have this perfect vision of the script and you know exactly what it's going to be, and then you get on set and you have to forget the script. I mean, you have it there, but you have to not worry about totally rethinking it, and you can't be so rigid that you aren't willing to engage with that process. And so if the actor brings something that you weren't expecting, but it's good, you have to be able to recognize that, oh yeah, what you're coming up with is better than what I, you're better at this than I am right now, and so let's use your skills. Because it's a collaborative art form, and I think part of directing is recognizing when someone else has a better take on something and stealing it from them. And then again, also in editing, you shot all this stuff. You think the story is going to go a certain way, and then you can drastically change the structure of the story. And you can't cling to your vision of it while you're shooting. You have to be willing to make it better.
Did a lot happen in editing in this particular movie?
Not a huge amount. I mean, there was some restructuring at the beginning because initially it stayed in the clinic for a really, really long time. And it was like, it's kind of a cold, slow movie in a way, but it was just like too punishingly cold to stay in the clinic for like such a long time. And we actually, after it premiered in France, and then we cut 6 minutes of it after my editor came up with an idea. And so it lost one of my favorite scenes I ended up cutting, but it's because he was right. And I was kind of mad when he suggested it, because he was just doing his job, but I was like, I can't lose that scene. It's, but I love this scene. Like, I couldn't even look at his cut of it for like a week. And then I looked at it and I was like, all right, yeah, he's totally right. This makes everything way clearer.
What was the scene?
So Edward Porras from the beginning, that guy who gets the herpes infection, he then becomes famous for being a super fan. So he like becomes a celebrity for being a fan of celebrities. And then, so the scene is Sid goes to a hotel and takes his herpes sample now and wants her herpes.
That sounds great.
Yeah, no, and he has his own like video where he's doing this like sexy sunglasses lift and he's looking into the camera and being all, you know, celebrity up.
Right.
Yeah, I really liked it, but it just came, there was no good place to put it in a movie. It sort of came at an awkward time, so.
Right.
It's on the Blu-ray.
It's on the Blu-ray. It's actually right there. We could watch it right now. It sounds great because it takes that next turn of what he's been infected with now is the thing that's going out and other people want to be infected with.
Yeah, it's
sounds
a
brilliant.
special edition of her herpes through him for people who are fans of his fandom.
That's perfect. So that guy, the one who played the super thing, he was is he in the short that you did?
No,
originally for it?
it was
the same
the
actor?
short, yeah.
Yeah, that was the same character. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one, the woman who he has a talk with on the couch was actually the same character playing the same role in the short. The short was basically just that scene with an ending tack on.
And another casting question too then, because this is all about the power of you to construct the narrative. So tell me a little bit about the casting, especially with Caleb, the main star, because he seems like the sets. He's so pale and stark, and there's a kind of androgyny to him too, a sort of Tilda Swinton sort of thing going on.
And he's red and white, and so it's
exactly. He's carrying a lot of recessive genes.
Well, I didn't know about, he was in X-Men, First Class, I think. He played Banshee, and I didn't really, I saw X-Men, but he seemed like a bit of a weird character, but he didn't really stand out because this was a bit of wash and
Right.
CGI, and I sort of stopped paying attention after a certain point. But we were looking for Sid, and we talked to a few actors who weren't into it for various reasons. And Caleb's agent sort of had worked with my producer at a certain point and said, "Oh, I've got this kid, you know, he's a bit young." Like Sid was originally meant to be in his 30s. And it's like, "So we've got this kid, he's a bit young, but do you want to see his reel?" And so we put it on in the production office, and everybody just like couldn't take their eyes off him because he looks amazing and he's a great actor, and he was just like, I don't know, we all just got really excited, and so it was.
He plays sick really well.
Yeah. And he's a wonderful guy. You know, we became friends throughout this process. Lovely human being, also really intense. Like, you know, he would, to get himself pumped up, he was hitting the ground. He was bleeding. His hands were like constantly scabbed and bleeding because he was just like getting so intense that he was physically sometimes hurting himself. He just would play this game. At one point, he told me it was, you know, can he get me to worry that he seriously hurt himself after a take? So he would like fall into crashes or something. Caleb, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. It was just me trying to mess with you. Although it backfired once you really smashed everything against the wall. But it was one of those, I guess that's another sort of script thing. We ended up sort of adapting the character to him and making the character younger because we were so excited about him as an actor that we wanted to tap into that. And he ended up not playing as young as he is. He was only, I think, 21. I think he turned 22.
Oh, really?
So we thought, you know, I threw in a few lines like, "Oh, the kid," you know, like he's going to be this young guy, but he actually played him. I think he played older anyway, so it wasn't really.
Yeah, I would say so, like late 20-ish, sort of. And the age really changes things, I think, in many ways, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It changes the relationship that he has with Hannah. And that relationship is so charged too, because you realize that it's not just that he's selling something he doesn't believe in. that he's completely bought into that as well, and idolizes her and wants that communion with her.
Yeah, it's a romantic comedy.
It's a romantic, of course it's a romantic comedy. It's obviously a romantic comedy. It's really funny too, because one of the things that I was thinking about the last time that I watched it was romance. So on the one hand, you could kind of read everything about that's taking place being about celebrity and the way that we deal with celebrity in our society. But you also could maybe read this movie as a kind of critique of romantic love, like classic romantic love. So if you think about romantic love during the medieval times, when really romance, the way that we think of it today, was invented, it was the age of chivalry. It was an age when the woman, and this doesn't sound too foreign from what we have, because we're still affected by this, but the woman is held up on a pedestal. The bards are writing songs to her, but have never really met her before. And the most perfect woman is the dying woman. And you never can consummate romantic love, because if it's consummated, it's somehow ruined then. So you have this entire love of the woman in the abstract, which is really based on a kind of misogyny. It's kind of a hatred of women at its root. And so if you think about what's going on with this celebrity, and it's maybe no surprise that Hannah Geist is female, that this taking of the female body in this way. She becomes the eternal sleeping beauty at the end. There are two senses in which she's in a box. She's in that box at the end as just a shadow of her real self. And then there's this TV screen, that really creepy scene when she's at Levine's place and saying, "Do you want me to hurt myself?" And the sort of virtual reality Hannah as well. But it seems like in many ways, that is the romantic woman, right? The woman that you can control, the romantic ideal. Not a real woman that you want, that you have to have a commitment with and care about really, but this version, this vision that you have.
Yeah, no, completely. And I think that is absolutely embedded in that celebrity relationship. It's, I did a talk about this once, and somebody said, why is there no sex in the movie? And I said, there is sex. It's just this sort of indirect sex, and the needles are the penetration, and that's sort of the sex in the movie. But it's non-connected sex. There's no, obviously, connection between the two people. It's sex between a person and an ideal, a person and a construct,
right.
and something in their own mind. So.
And that seems super in keeping with the notion of romance. Sex ruins it. The sexiness is great, but the sex would ruin it, right?
That's a total, then you're animals at that point.
Yeah.
And that's...
And then it's a real body, a real woman you have to deal with, instead of just, like when Sid takes the blood from her, it's a very sensual moment. And but she's got a blindfold on. She doesn't even really have any idea what's going on. We see it from his perspective, and it's kind of sexy and sensual, but it's more like a rape, really, because she's just lying there, unwilling, and not even knowing what's happening.
Yeah, her physical character is mostly not present at all in the entire film, except for that one exchange between them. That's really the only sort of glimpse at the real human being.
Right.
But it's almost like, he's sort of obsessed with that a little bit, but at the end, he's really happier, because that's complete ownership over this idea. She's as dehumanized as possible, but he's, that's his ideal marriage in a way. That's I guess, as you say, it's sort of total possession of another person who is like a non-person. It's just sort of an idea in a way.
Right, the equation of romantic love with real misogyny, with hatred of the actual the person, really. Yeah. Oh, that seems really, really deep, and I think it's just displayed beautifully here. Yeah. So, how about we set up the microphones, and we'll start to do that, and maybe people could feel free to line up, and we'll let Brandon take a few questions from you as well. And while Anne is doing that, maybe if I could ask you about one other thing. So another thing that just really struck me as I'm watching it again now I don't know how many times I've seen it, So I'm so used to seeing Sid with the thermometer in his mouth, and it's really very cigarette-like, right?
Yeah.
And he even goes outside every time he puts the thermometer in. There's a very oral kind of fixation in the movie. There's the hypo to the gum, and then there's the hard hypo to the gum.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thermometer is definitely meant to be cigarette-like. I mean, I was looking, for some of the imagery in the story, I was sort of looking at film noir as a kind of basis, so
Yeah.
his coat, his sort of long coat, and the thermometer is like a cigarette, and he's sort of like, you know, this a cynical noir story in a way with this sort of beautiful ending, although for him, I guess it's a fantastic ending.
Yeah, he's very happy, right? And it's a stark white film noir, too.
Yes.
That's really nice. So how seriously should we take that it's a romantic comedy?
Pretty serious.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I was saying this when I did the radio show, but when people don't laugh at it, I get really nervous because it's supposed to be. It's not that I'm not taking it seriously, but it's supposed to have kind of an element of humor. So when it premiered in Cannes, in this huge theater, nobody laughed once throughout the entire thing. And so I was sitting there, I mean, some of us in our row who had worked on the film, we laughed, but, so I was sitting there, like, sweating, just thinking, oh my God, they're gonna lynch us at the end of this because no one's laughing, they must hate it. And then, you know, we got an ovation and it was fine. But it is meant to be funny and it is meant to be romantic, so.
Yeah.
Romantic comedy, not.
The other guys who are selling this stuff, they're always funny every time they're on screen, right? When they're in the line to give their kids back, they're always saying something.
Yeah, they're comedy.
Yeah. And I would be, I stifle a laugh, but when he smears the blood on Hannah's big and makes a mustache, I always think that's funny. This is the first thing you do, right? To a picture in a magazine or something.
Yeah, it's totally meant to be funny.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like, please.
No, once I was doing an interview and I said it was a romantic comedy, and the guy got really mad at me. It's not funny, it's horrible. So serious and terrible. I was like, no, it's meant to be funny. I mean, it is sort of serious and terrible, but also like really funny. It is like angry, like just
It's
pissed
pretty
off.
hilarious in itself. Right? It's got a lot of commitment to genre. It's got to be this.
Yeah.
Seems like genre, if you just say it's something, that does all the thinking for us. Right? If you classify something, then you can stop thinking about it. Whereas just letting it be and saying, well, it's a romantic comedy. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, genre in film is like a really interesting subject in and of itself because it's not, no film is completely classifiable with no genre, but it is simple. But I think talking about capitalism, it's also an easy way to sell films to people. I mean, I think it's also easy for film critics and film theorists because it gives them a framework to talk about, within which to talk about a film. But if you make a movie, one question you will get during editing is, from the distributor, what genre is this? They'll ask you. And I got that question with this. Is it a science fiction film? Is it a thriller? Is it a horror film? And they're asking you because they have a way of marketing these movies. But if it's a horror film, they'll do this. And if it's a thriller, they'll do this. When you actually look at a horror film and a thriller, from the perspective of those genres, it's not an easy line. There's no real way to distinguish them necessarily, but it's sort of a film industry construct, I guess.
Right. So easy thinking, or you don't have to think so much about it.
Yeah, or it's an easy way to package something.
Yeah,
But I think that then affects people's reaction.
Yeah, of course, because then you come with all these preconceptions. I'm going to see this kind of movie,
Yeah.
and then that structures the narrative that unfolds for you.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think it worked against us in this case because it's not scary. And then I think people, especially these days, associate horror with fear. It's meant to scare you. You're meant to jump, and this is not that kind of movie exactly. But it is a horror film.
Right.
It's just,
Or existential. So, thank you, Brandon. So do we have anybody who wants to ask a question?
Oh, come on.
Please use the microphone if you can. Thank you.
Hello? Yes. First off, I just want to say I've been a big fan of sci-fi from the early 50s and things like that. So I really kind of enjoyed the pseudoscience of him being able to just run it through, and that puts an imprint on it. I was like, that's so, it's like you say it and we buy it. And it's that kind of great thing that you get, you used to get like, the antimatter or, the cosmic rays. And I was like, yes, it's just that wonderful trope that you get in sci-fi where you're like, yeah, you run it through the machine and, now it's got an imprint. You can't do it. I'm like,
Yeah. It's copy protected.
What's that?
It's copy protected.
Absolutely, it's copy protected. It must have occurred to you, your father's legacy of the body horror and everything, that doing a film that is kind of body-centric and disease-focused, that people were going to draw some kind of comparison. I just wondered if that ever gave you pause at any moment to be like, you know what, maybe this isn't the story to start with. Maybe I need to do something that distances myself from my father's legacy. I'm just curious what your thoughts were on that.
Sure. I mean, at a certain point, yeah, I definitely wondered about it. But then I thought, I used to be more of an illustrator before I got into film, and I was really interested in doing visual art. And I had this one show, and I did these drawings, and some people came in and they're like, oh, they're very like Cronenberg. This is so like you're ripping off your father, or it's like. So I was like, okay. Anything I do, people are gonna, draw comparisons. And also, I mean, this is sort of representative of what I'm interested in artistically. It's, these are my honest preoccupations and my aesthetic. And so I think if I made any sort of conscious effort to cut something or to distance myself from my father's career, then I'd be defining myself totally in terms of his career, and it would be about where I position myself in relation to him. And then I think that's not a place I could honestly work from, So at a certain point, I just had to decide to ignore the inevitable crap that I would and have, of course, gotten. Because that's the only way I'm going to be able to work.
Great, thank you.
It's sort of limiting, right? Because if you would have directed the next One Direction documentary, you said it's so anti-Cronenberg, so it's kind of hard to get out of that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no escape. But
yeah.
In time, 20 years maybe.
Exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
Please.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Denise Crosby.
Oh yeah. From Next Generation.
Next
right?
Generation.
Tasha.
Yeah. I was at a film festival and I met her. She was one of the judges at the Sea Chats Festival. And her grandfather is Bing Crosby.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
And she said, you know what? Like all anyone asks her about is her grandfather. She was saying like that connection is something she never escaped, and you never get away with it. So, all right.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Shows something about the power of the narrative too. Maybe we shouldn't just think that we always have the power of the narrative then, because you're just thrown into a story that's already up and running, and you can rebel against that. But then you're the person who rebelled against the story that I was given. So in some sense, you kind of ride with it and make your own way and do your own stuff.
Yeah, you exist in a framework that you can't.
Exactly. Yeah, and then strive for excellence, and definitely doing that. Please.
One of my favorite parts of the movie was the provoking of questions, just the general exploration of the distinction between a person, a human, and a body, not just in terms of celebrity culture and idol worship, but also in terms of biology. And I think the best part that was explored was in the butcher shop where we see them making the meat for the first time, and how it's just grown and harvested in steaks, and how it's not a person, but it's a person's matter. But one thing that I'm just curious about, which is mostly just a production question, what did you use for the people meats?
Well, I used seitan, which is wheat in festival. They had this food truck that I actually really like seitan. I don't eat meat, and they had this amazing seitan sandwich. So I was like, man, you've got to try it. And he ate it, and he admitted that it was delicious. So, ultimately, seitan.
Cronenberg. It tastes much better.
It's a burger. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so I had a question about where did you find the setting for it? Like, I noticed that you used a lot of white within the movie, and it was like, I really like it really fit, especially with Caleb being stark white. He looked like he had on real makeup or anything like that. But I noticed that there weren't a lot of scenes where, you know, like you'll see someone walking down along the street, or, you know, you see a car driving past. Like, what was the setting you used for that, and why did you choose to put it like that? Like the settings where they were, those were the only settings that you would use most of the time. You knew where you were going to go the next scene, kind of sort of.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, I guess, touching on what we were talking about with the idea of celebrities as being these non-human, you know, sort of cultural ideas, and then contrasting that with sort of the body. I kind of like the idea that some of these environments were extremely, extremely sterile and just inhuman, and then some of them were more human. So you sort of often the sets that are more sort of involved with like celebrities as an idea rather than people are sort of the really sterile, all white walls, no color thing. And then when they go to like go into situations where it involves sort of more blood and bodily stuff, it becomes a little bit less sterile. So I mean, occasionally it was just out of necessity, like we had to shoot in a hotel and we didn't have enough of a budget to completely build a hotel. So we were like, okay, we're just gonna make this yellow because the lights are yellow here and we don't have the budget to build a hotel. But as much as possible, we tried to sort of have that contrast between the sort of, you know, dirtier, less sterile stuff, and then sterile stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So I guess my question sort of relates to budgetary things, because whenever I seem to put static camera, like absolutely static camera in my film, it's usually because we're pressed for time. We don't have the budget or time to get dolly in or whatever. But in your case, it seems to be a lot more stylistic. How do you feel about restricting your camera movement so much?
Well, I was watching a lot of Romanian New Wave right before this, and it tends to be either handheld or very static. And so I was enjoying that aesthetic, and going into this, I thought, oh yeah, we're making a Romanian New Wave film. We're just gonna roll with the Romanian New Wave style. And about like an hour into shooting, I was like, that is a huge mistake. But we had already really sort of established that film language, so we decided to stick with it and see sort of where it would take us. So for instance, I mean, I guess part of having a kind of coherent visual language is just coming up with rules for yourself for whatever reason at the beginning. So I decided, okay, there was going to be no panning at all unless it was part of like another move or sort of a handheld thing. So we would shoot scenes, and my cinematographer would be filming someone's close-up, and then they would walk, and he would just do this like fast, like let them leave frame, and then do this fast move and reframe, and keep it fixed, and kind of let them move in and out of frame. And it was just, yeah, it wasn't something that was thematic. It was just sort of the language that we decided, the visual language we decided on.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm not really sure how to ask this, but I was really interested in the imagery you did with the face of the disease in all the different forms, and I was kind of wondering where you got that idea, or why you chose to kind of use that variety of imagery, or why show kind of a humanoid, inhuman face for that at all.
It was partly just because it was more cinematic, and I thought whatever the real process of manipulating a virus so that it would become non-contagious would probably be really boring to watch. I'm sure it would be like a lot of not very graphic information, and it just seemed more cinematic to come up with something like that. But I also like the idea that you have these celebrity faces on the walls, and then they're contrasted by also these sort of vertical, deformed faces that are the viruses. And so it's like the disease face versus the perfect celebrity face.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's a great question, by the way. The philosopher in me had to suppress asking you over and over about that, because there's the philosopher Emmanuel Levinas who argues that the face is the site of ethics. It's the force of the face that makes an ethical command. Thou shalt not kill is the first command it gives. And so before there's even a sense of self, there's the other's face. And before there's any ontology done, there is this ethical demand of the other. So it seemed like that was just up there on screen as well. So I assumed that you read all of Levinas, and that was the intention behind it, and it wasn't just, oh, this will be cool.
It's safe to assume that.
Fantastic, fantastic. Please, we'll take one more question.
So I'm a lit major, so my brain is just buzzing. This is the second time I've seen this movie, and I feel like I could write a thesis on it. I mean, all the themes, everything, it's so rich. So I was wondering if literature plays a part at all for you, or if these are just things that kind of resonate with you, that you just kind of come up with just from your creative side, or is it stuff people have kind of attributed to the film that maybe you didn't have in mind? Like we were talking about romance, for example, earlier.
I mean, literature, I sort of read more than I watch movies, and I kind of was a really bookish kid and got into movies later in life and more since I started making movies. So I can't say that there's like one particular author or novel that influenced it, but I definitely am more tied to the sort of literary end of things. In terms of interpretations, I mean, it's always a really weird, that's always a sort of really weird game, because for one thing, you do a press tour, and you end up talking so much about your intention, and you hear interpretations from people, and you sort of absorb them. At this point, I couldn't tell you how much of what I think I came up with, I actually came up with, and how much of it was just sort of stuff that I saw in it after the fact, and then was like, oh yeah, I'm a genius, this was a great idea. So there's a really weird game, and also, you have the sort of the interplay between the author's intention and then, somebody who interprets the film and who's right. It's in a way no one's right. In a way, my interpretation and what I was intending isn't more right than someone else's interpretation. It's kind of what's in a way the most convincing, I guess. Yeah, so definitely there are things that people have seen in the film that I wasn't intending, but sometimes I think they're right and I'm wrong also. If that makes sense.
Thank you.
Thanks.
There's one last person. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, the question is also about imagery of the movie. Flowers are very prevalent throughout the movie, a lot of times the framing the actors. When I think of flowers, I think about having them there, they're already dead, they last, they don't last very long, as opposed to this idea of maintaining a system in the afterlife. I don't know if you could elaborate more on this imagery of flowers.
Well, for me, the flowers, they were especially connected to, and it's talked about a little bit in the film, but the idea of the broken tulips, and the entire Dutch economy was devastated by this tulip bubble. It was one of the first economic bubbles. And they had these tulips that would grow with these stripes, and you get these great Dutch masters doing portraits of people's tulips, and because they're perennials, people would start trading massive amounts of property for these tulips. It got completely out of control. People were selling their estates for tulips. And then one day, it's like everyone sort of realized, oh, they're just tulips, and the bubble burst, and it just destroyed their economy. But The interesting thing is that tulips are, uninfected tulips have completely one color petals. They don't have any sort of patterns. Anytime a tulip has a pattern on it, it's because it has this virus called the tulip breaking virus. And that causes the multicolored sort of striped petals. So it was an early example of this virus being valuable. I mean, an entire economy ended up being based sort of on a virus, sort of on a disease, and a disease that that's seen as incredibly beautiful and desirable. And so that was the flower imagery. Flower imagery for me was totally tied into that specifically.
Thank you.
Thanks.
At a time when Dutch colonialism was also spreading out, so as like a virus. Well, Brendan, my absolute favorite new romantic comedy is Brandon Cronenberg's Antiviral. Please join me.